I think you can argue that, by and large, every community in Cape Breton shows genuine community spirit, but there's a case to be made that per capita, nowhere has pride of place more evident than in Gabaroos. And that's because there are only some 78 people left there. And the number of projects those few citizens have launched in the past decade, such as the effort to save the seawall and the effort to save the lighthouse, is very impressive. So much so that Gabaroos caught the eye of a documentary maker from Toronto. With on the ground assistance from Tim Menck and Jean Kersey, Jawad Mir has created a film that provides an overview of important milestones from 2011 to today in Gabaroos. The documentary is called Only 78 and will be shown this Sunday afternoon at the Highlands Arts Theatre in Sydney. To learn more, Hal spoke with Jawad Mir.
What was it like talking to the residents there and getting them to tell you their story?
It was very easy. I think a lot of credit has to go to, in the very beginning at least, the first trip, Tim and Jean, because they pretty much facilitated all the interviews. Like my first and primary contact were Tim and Jean. And when we got there, they gave us a place to stay, and they facilitated everything. But after that, when we went the second time, the people in the village saw that, there's something more than just one trip, and I have absolutely fallen in love with the people there, and I think they enjoy having me there once in a while when I'm there. They're very open about things, and and naturally everybody has their own, little things that they don't want to disclose, which is fine, but more or less for what I was looking for to tell the story that I was trying to tell, it was very easy.
The title of the film, Only 78, did you come up with that rather easily, or did you have to struggle a bit with finding the right title?
No, it actually came out pretty quick, even before we started production, because my first initial conversations with Tim was that I think he mentioned in a very random conversation, there's only 78 people here. So, and I took the whole Only 78 in the context of, and I think Tim told me the same thing, if my memory serves me right. In the beginning, it was in the context of there's only 78 people, why should the government care, right? That's how it all started. But when you see the film, and when whoever sees the film, when you see the film, it actually serves two purposes, the title. That, it's only 78 people, should the government care or not? But at the same time, these only 78 people can make a big difference if they want to. Obviously, they won't succeed in every single thing, but that's where it came. It's a great title. I think it's one of the best titles I've ever come across, just because it serves the story really beautifully.
What is your hope for, what goes through the viewer's mind? What are you trying to make them feel?
One of the things that I didn't know about this before I even read the Gabbro story, that how there are so many coastal communities in Canada that are under similar threat. And after I went there once and I came back and I spoke to people here in Toronto, there wasn't that much of a reaction, like nobody cared. I'm not saying that they didn't care, but there wasn't just that kind of a thing that, it's just 78 people, or if it's just small communities, why should we care? At least that's the attitude that I felt from some people. They didn't really say that. So my whole thing is that I want to I would like to do two things with this film: create massive awareness with people in Canada or across the world, because every country has coastal communities, right? Like everybody has some parts. So, and they even though they might be small, but they have a life too. They want to live. They pay taxes. They have rights. And at the same time, with the climate change that's taking place right now, we just need to be very careful, because climate change, people think that, it's in the film too, we actually interviewed a professor at University of Toronto. People think that just because, the coastal communities are right next to the ocean or the Great Lakes or whatever, they'll be affected by it. But no, it's going to have a severe impact on, places that are not right next to the ocean or the sea, or have you not, because maybe not direct impact, but economically, like if you have coastal communities just kind of in ruins, your fisheries go down the road. I mean, there could be so many economic factors to it. There could be, relatives that you have. So it's all related. So I want to make sure that people get aware of this, and then also at the same time, small communities that have such issue, hundreds of them, that are not being able to get anything out of it. I would like, Gabrous, I always find, is a benchmark for a driving force for making a big difference, because they united and they just kept on going. They just kept on going and didn't stop. And their story actually inspired me to continue on this film too, is that you have to keep going. You just cannot take no for an answer for the government. They're there to serve you. You're not serving them.
And what would you like to say about the debut that's happening on Sunday in Sydney?
That actually is probably very important to me, because I'm sure there are going to be other people from communities outside of Gabrous, but especially for residents or other people like Little Lamb's community that was involved in the film as well. It's very important for me to hear what they have to say, because you kind of put your trust into them, and they put their trust into you, and you want to make sure that you kind of come across respectfully. Obviously, documentary filmmaking is about telling the truth, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you respect everybody. They have a lot of history and a lot of culture and a lot of attachment to the place. So you respect those wishes on the borderline, but at the same time, not be afraid to tell the truth as it is.
Must be a great feeling of anticipation.
Absolutely, and looking forward to seeing how people react and what they say, and hopefully after doing 39 different rough cuts of this film, I'm hoping that people will accept it for what it is, and other people outside of the community would use it as an inspiration, and maybe the government would start paying attention a little bit more over time.
Jawad Mir is the director of a new documentary called Only 78 about the village of Gabrous. It's going to be shown at the Highland Arts Theatre this Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock. A donation of $5 is being asked to cover the costs of renting the theatre to show the film locally, and everyone is welcome.